There's a story to be told, a future to behold. There is more to who we are than what they hear. We have love within our soul, fire in our bones. We've got everything it takes to make it here. There's much more within our soil, more than just our oil. We can grow the food to feed the whole world square. Agriculture is the key. There's treasure in the trees. The time is now, the land is green, wealth is here. This is our nation, this is our land. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, wealth is here. There are 200 billion dreams. Any one of these is able to begin a spark and change the world. There's innovation everywhere, from Aba to Ife to Kaduna. The land is green, the wealth is here. Yeah, this is our nation, this is our land. Yeah. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, the wealth is here.
If you take a look around, from the north to south, there are opportunities to make it here. But if all you ever dream is to go overseas, tell me how you'll ever know that wealth is here. Oh, yeah,
This is our nation, this is our land. Oh, Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, the wealth is here. So pass on the baton, pass on the torch. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, the wealth is here. Oh yeah. So this is our nation, this is our land. Oh yeah. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, wealth is here.
What sector has enough potential to cater for the growing population in Nigeria? What sector is bubbling with diverse and profitable opportunities? What sector can enhance the Nigerian economy and propel you to thrive? How can you tap into this sector? Be a part of the Business of Agriculture Masterclass, coming up from the 5th to 7th of July 2021. 3 days, 9 sessions, 15 speakers, and 7 value chains. Tap into profitable opportunities in agriculture, build wealth, achieve financial freedom. Visit www.businessofagriculture.org and register for the free Business of Agriculture Masterclass, designed to make you think agri. This is brought to you by the Private Sector Advisory Group of the UN SDG Fund.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first session of the Business of Agriculture Masterclass. Today's session is on the business of nutrition and lifestyle management. My name is Maurice Atoki. I'm the CEO of African Business Coalition for Health, and I will be your anchor for today's session and also the moderator for the panel session. Before we go further, it's important for us to give an introduction of today's important session of our time and our livelihood. Feeding the world is not just about filling up stomachs, you would agree with me, but nourishing bodies as well. Which is why now, more than ever, the pressure to improve on nutritional choices is increasing. Nigerians are becoming increasingly health conscious and interested in nutrition and fitness. Our curiosity for achieving and maintaining a weight loss is very unsated. It seems that the medical, social, and the financial cost of obesity has driven a persistent number of inquiries into the topic across sub-regions in the last 10 years or thereabout. Dieting, as we know, has carved a space for itself in Nigeria's notoriously starch-based diet, with many embracing innovations like vegan Nigerian food, the keto diet, popularly known, the gluten-free diet, intermittent fasting, and rapid cleansing, in a bid to fast-track weight loss and achieve attractive figures. Today, more businesses opportunities will come up in this value chain. As individuals become more aware of the need for a healthy lifestyle in diet and in practices. Today's session will expose participants to the active and emerging opportunities in nutrition and lifestyle management. It would also provide relevant guidelines to aid an intending entrepreneur or investor succeed at it. Thank you very much. Shall we have our 15 seconds interlude video from the back-end technical support group? Thank you very much. We're going into the most important part of the day. I have the pleasure to take us into our primer session. And today's session is an overview that provides background information on the nutrition and the lifestyle value chain, as well as presenting a business case for engaging in that niche. This primer session is the business of nutrition and lifestyle management. I have the pleasure of introducing no other person but her very self, Dr. Ifeoma Monye. She's an internationally certified lifestyle medicine physician and founder of Brookfield Center for Lifestyle Medicine. Dr. Ifeoma Monye, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, Maurice. Thank you for organizing this really timely conversation that we must be having, because things are really looking up for Africa and for Nigeria in particular in the area of agriculture, because more than ever before, medicine and health, as we know it, is actually shifting gears, where in the emphasis that we lay on health. Before now, everyone thought very little about nutrition and health. But the thing is, in the last sort of 10 years, globally, there is a lot of attention going into health and nutrition, because we now know that 90% of chronic illnesses, and when I say chronic illnesses, I'm referring to illnesses like diabetes type 2, like hypertension, stroke, dementia, cancers, arthritis, autoimmune disorders. And as I call these disorders, I'm sure listeners can identify with one or the other, or have a relative that has one or the other. We now know that these illnesses that stay with the patient for months and years, and now 90% of them are related to the lifestyle that we live. And in this lifestyle that we live, nutrition or the food that we eat plays about 60% of the role. There are other things like your physical activity and how much you move. There are other things like your sleep and how well you sleep. And the other things like managing stress, having loving relationships, avoiding toxic substances, and so on. But we know that today we're talking about just nutrition. And if my slides will be shared, I'll be very happy to share very, very briefly, give an overview of where things are with the business of nutrition and lifestyle management. So I've done in the introduction already. I just want to say that I have nothing to declare over the presentation. and that I'm going to just take us through very briefly food systems, diet, and health, and how you may want to start your nutrition and lifestyle medicine business, and to remind us of the use, how we must use our superpowers and be very mindful of the pitfalls in this business. Next slide, please. So, nutrition is the pillar, a big pillar for health and well-being. And I have already alluded to that when I explained the relationship between foods and chronic illnesses, or the illnesses we call the non-communicable diseases, and how that we know now that filling ourselves up, nourishing ourselves with food. And why is that important? It's important because we eat every single day, in fact, several times a day. So over the days, as soon as we are born, as a matter of fact, while we are still in our mother's womb, our mothers are nourishing us. So right from that time, and in fact, I'll push it a little further, before our mothers get pregnant for us, their bodies, the state of their nutrition, the state of their nourishment actually will impact on whichever baby gets into the womb. And so the baby gets into the womb. So right from that stage, the mother is nourishing the baby, and the baby is born, and the baby begins to live. Everything happening to the mother before that baby is conceived, while that baby is in the womb, and when, after the baby is born, will impact on whether or not that baby develops hypertension as an adult, or whether that baby develops diabetes as an adult, or has depression as an adult, or has certain cancers as an adult. Now we know that, and we know that nutrition is a main pillar to this. And what kind of nutrition are we going to be, sort of pumping out now? Going forward, we're going to be making a lot of emphasis on us eating a lot of plants. And that is why agriculture is very exciting to us now in lifestyle medicine. There is a lot of, the emphasis must be on eating a lot of plants. And in summary, we say eat plants, whole plants, not too much, but let it be whole. And when I say whole, that means going having a detour, very briefly to the factories, if at all, very, very briefly. And so today's meeting is so relevant to the health of humans. What is the role of public health in this? Public health policies come because we want to see healthier food systems. And that is on the backlog that what is happening now is that the commercial food systems bombard us with foods that are highly processed. And you remember I said we should really aim to visit the factories if at all, minimally. But the commercial foods are highly processed, they're added, there's a lot of addition of preservatives, and that has a lot of drawbacks, a lot of dangers. A lot of the preservatives have actually been known to cause cancer. And when they go on to become commercially prepared, they are stripped of a lot of natural goodness that have come out of the farms that really should be going to the kitchen and then eating it up. So they strip that up and they add things that should increase the shelf life. I mean, I know that the bottom line for the commercial industries is naira and kobo or dollars, but in the long run, is doing a lot of damage to the health of the population. So, public health, the primary goal will always be about population health, apart from the fiscal and regulatory policies that they also have, and developing metrics for health, the environment, and the impact of all of this on of food companies on our health. I think that it's time now that there is a synergy between what the public health organizations or even the Ministry of Health and the Public Department are saying. There should be a synergy, a very strong one between them and industries that produce food, so that there is always that care taken that food that is pumped out for people to eat, drinks that are made for people to eat, will tally with things that will be helpful for the population. Because at the end of the day, if what we do now means that in 10, 20 years' time, there is a lot more cancer, a lot more diabetes, a lot more hypertension, a lot more strokes, a lot more dementia, I don't think it's serving anybody any good. Next slide, please. So still on, just giving you a summary and an overview of what's happening. And because of all of the background I've given, you can see that there is a huge gap that needs to be filled. A huge gap that needs to be filled in this space. And that brings us to the value chain of nutrition and lifestyle management. So from somebody waking up in the morning, well, if I take you back to the story of before a mother even gets pregnant and her body, the state of her body, and when she gets pregnant and nourishing that child, and when she starts to breastfeed and then, get the child as the baby into a child into a teenager, an adolescent, and then an adult, there's a lot going on and it's a hugely untapped market, both globally, but in particular in Nigeria. And in 2019, the estimate for this industry was about $192 billion. And this is projected to reach about $295 billion by 2027. And I think that is very significant, because what that represents is a compound annual growth rate of 7%. Can you imagine that? And that is something just waiting for people to plug in. And when we talk about in which ways people can plug in, I would run us through a few sessions of whether it is you're doing selling products, or whether it's you're giving personal services, or you're building wellness centers, or you're in tech and media. There is so much opportunity in this. Because again, because of what we're doing today and what the rest of the world is doing, there is a lot of talking going on between health and the industries to see how we can make things better. And what qualifies an industry to be called a nutrition and lifestyle medicine brand? Well, first of all, there is need for credentialing. Anybody who wants to start a business like that, please, and I will talk about that in my next slide, but not yet. That industry, that company, that business, that brand, very important that the person is credentialed to do whatever it is they're doing. So whether it is the product sales, wellness center, or particularly the personal services, where you have nutrition and wellness coaches, weight loss coaches, weight gain coaches, and so on, and all kinds of things that happen with helping somebody make healthy decisions to live healthier. You must be credentialed to do that. And the other things that can happen here is selling of products. There are lots of products, and I'm sure my other panelists will talk, feed into that, talk about that. But as a lifestyle medicine physician, my emphasis will be that in producing these products, they must be healthy, so that we don't try to solve one problem and create more problems that will happen 5, 10, 20 years from now. And there is a lot of room for opportunities in building wellness centers, whether they're gyms or spas or juice centers or healthy restaurants, or, the list is endless. How about tech and media? Now, that is the biggie. Tech and media is the big one because artificial intelligence, it's taking another level with health, and lifestyle medicine is not left behind, or lifestyle management, that's not left behind. So that's an area that people can, especially the young ones, can plug into. In terms of how to build a successful brand, and government, there must be enabling environment for anyone to have a successful brand. And that's what I've put that to remind me to say. The government of the day must provide an enabling environment in terms of taxes, regulations, and so on, so that people can actually create a business that they can run. And I just want to wrap up by talking about the important steps that we must take if you want to venture into any of this billion-dollar business that is staring us in the face. So first of all is to develop your concept. If you've had a flair as you grew up about whether it's, people living healthy, beauty, not looking nice, and so on and so forth, all kinds of things, develop that concept. Get some clarity. Do a lot of research, because the business is so huge and there are very different areas of it. Have a business strategy. These days, people don't talk a lot about business plans, but you must have a business strategy. Get credentialed. There is no way else you can do it. You can't fluff your way around for too long. It will soon be known that you really don't know what you're doing. So don't be in a hurry. And this is a thing I need to emphasize to our young ones. Don't be in a hurry. The business is there. It's not going to run away. Don't mind what other people are putting on social media and you say, oh, I must be like that person. Oh, no. Please take your time and get qualified. And then put systems in place. And once this all happening and this all coming together, create a professional presence online, have a website, get your social media in place, share knowledge, collaborate with people, network. It's a growing industry. There's a lot of new knowledge coming out. So, plug in there like what we are doing today, and well done to this organization for putting this together. Learn and relearn as you go. And as you do all of this, please recognize your superpowers. There are inherent gifts in every one of us. And I tell you something, I drop this with everyone, especially the young ones. When you are born, I totally believe it, that all the things that make you click, make people, even some of the things that people get annoyed or irritate people with, explore that. That might actually be your superpower. Let me give you an example. Maybe you are somebody who is very talkative, and when you come into a room, you are talking to everyone, and she's coming again, or he's coming again, he's so talkative, just let him go. That may actually be your superpower, and you may actually be a great marketer. And so just whatever it is you have you do easily, you love to do, explore that, tap into that, and use it maximally. Recognize that there are pitfalls in this business, and one way to come around the pitfalls, such as financing. If you've not looked at your finances well, and you just jump into it, you are going to collapse very quickly because you haven't done your homework. If you have not looked at your audience, if you have not looked at your competitors, if you have not looked at the place where you want to see, the location where you want to situate this, if you have not looked at whether or not you're answering the need of the people. So that's one of the things you must do when you do your research. What is the need I want to meet? Is there a need? It's not what is in your head. It's not what you think is the need, but ask the audience that you think that you want to provide this to, and meet their need. Once you meet their need, they're going to pay whatever it is you ask them to pay. And price competitively, because that's another pitfall. If you overprice or underprice yourself, then people are going to shy away from you. I think that's a very quick, maybe 10 minutes for today. Thank you so much, and I want to take the discussion further.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ifeoma Monye, for that excellent presentation. Indeed, you have done justice, and you've given us a general overview of the very discourse for this moment, the background information on nutrition and the business of nutrition and lifestyle management, and also provide a business case for us to carve a niche in this regard. Without much ado, we would like the back-end technical team to please give us the interlude video. Thank you. Once again, we're going into more exciting times in this session. As the session on the panel is about to start, I have the pleasure of anchoring this session and being the moderator as well for this very auspicious panel. The panel for today is no other person than the very person, our primer session speaker, Dr. Ifeoma Monye, who gave us the presentation just now. Again, Dr. Ifeoma Monye is an internationally certified lifestyle medicine physician and founder of Brookfield Center for Lifestyle Medicine. I have the pleasure of welcoming her again as a panelist for today's session. Secondly, I would like to introduce and welcome Mrs. Ada Osakwe, who is the founder and CEO of Agro Lay Ventures and Noli. Mrs. Ada Osakwe, you're welcome. And last but not the least, I have the pleasure of introducing Mrs. Olushola Showemimo. She's a founder of Okwe Farms, and we're very delighted to have all of you in this session of today. I'm excited. I hope you are too.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, beautiful faces. What I would like to do is just give a bit of background information just before we go into the session. I will ask questions. If you're not being asked directly, we will prefer that you stay on mute just so that there's clarity in the voice over of the questions directly to you. So I would like to start with Mrs. Olushola Showemimo. Choosing the right nutrition-based agriculture business to venture into. I would like you to provide for us some kind of direction around what ways can we play in the nutrition and lifestyle niche. As far as this country is concerned in Nigeria, I would thank Dr. Ifeoma once again for that background overview that she provided. What areas can we play in as far as nutrition and lifestyle niche is concerned in Nigeria and perhaps, by extension, regionally across Africa? Over to you, Dr. Showemimo.
Hey, I like that. You've given me a doctorate.
Yes, sure. Pardon me. Dr. Moye, thank you for offering us. Over, please.
It sounds nice, actually. So thank you, everyone. I'm actually very glad to be here. And as an organic farmer, I would say that we are more like what you will call the bedrock of good nutrition in Nigeria. I am looking forward to a time when we will take our rightful place. I loved it when Dr. Moye was talking about loading up on vegetables and all of that. And I thought to myself, you had better load up on those vegetables if they're organic. Now, for anybody to want to play in the nutrition field, I am a primary producer, even though I've also graduated to being a processor. But if you want to play in the production sphere, then for good nutrition, it had better be organic. The reason is that organic agriculture recognizes sustainability, and the principles that guide it is such that whatever you produce has to be the ultimate for anybody's wellness, because this is a form of production that does not encourage the use of chemicals of any form. It requires a lot of understanding and a lot of knowledge to be able to practice it, but that is just it. You could also be a retailer. We have people who just uptake from us and supply others. And many have actually started as organic farmers who have nicely moved to retailers because they've left the very hard work for us to do. But we are glad to produce, because I started this journey because I saw a need. I really saw that need. I had traveled to California and for a cancer control conference, and realized that over 80% of those who were there were cancer survivors. And I thought, in Nigeria, people die every day from this. So what were they doing? What was unique to them? Then I realized that primarily it was their food. They were eating food that came from certified organic sources. And that did it for me. I had my wake-up moment and I said, I'm going to do this in Nigeria. It was difficult starting. But anybody who is starting now, you're going to start from the level of where I feel, because you're going to learn more. So there is that service. You could be in any service industry. Look at Nuli Juice. Nuli Juice used to be, I used to supply Nuli Juice even at a time, and what she's doing is marvelous. There are so many opportunities in that. I see her every day adding one new thing or the other to her choices. So that is very good one. Logistics is a very good area. Advocacy is a very good area. And I think Dr. Moye also mentioned media. Right now, we don't have enough of people reaching out to others to know the importance of nutrition. There is nothing we're doing now that is enough. We can always do much more. So I'll just leave it at that at this point. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Showemimo. Thank you for that highlight and how we must play in the nutrition and lifestyle niche. I would like to go to Madam Ada Osakwe. Madam Ada Osakwe, what I want you to do is to help me to identify appropriate, viable nutrition and lifestyle opportunities that the audience, as well as myself, can engage in, but also let me know what are the key challenges, if there are any, within that value chain that we should be wary of.
Yeah.
Over to you, Adele Sakwe.
Great. It's great to be here. Thank you to the PSAG for the remarkable conference and this conversation, this discussion that we're having. Dr. Moye, fantastic presentation. Thank you for setting the stage in such a great way. You know, there are a lot of opportunities, and I can really speak to the one that I grabbed wholeheartedly in Newly Juice in how we started. And for me, you know, identifying those opportunities starts really from identifying the problem, truly being convinced that there is a problem. I think we talk a lot about need for healthy foods. We just had coronavirus, you know, and we knew that a big part of it was, you know, protecting your immune system with healthy foods. And it just puzzles me that you still find people eating things that are overly processed and not good for them. So I think for me, we have to first of all accept and identify that problem in a very big way. And then that helps us to start realizing and looking at the plethora of opportunities to solve the problem. At Newly, we did this by starting a juice company that uses only locally grown foods to be able to create these juices that obviously are high in nutrients, are completely natural with no additives or anything added to it. But it was one thing to identify the fact that Nigerians were, you know, two times as likely to die from high blood pressure than other Africans on the continent. It was one thing to identify that, but it was another thing to then find how are we going to present this and how do we create an affordable, convenient way for them to switch to a healthier lifestyle with enhanced nutrition. So for me, we did the juice company and then decided to broaden it by doing food products that also help people have better nutrition. So I do think that there's a lot of opportunity. Since we came into the market 6 years ago, there have been a lot of juice companies that have started. I still think it's a great opportunity. I do like areas in having a lot more affordable, convenient QSR spaces. The QSR industry is about $700 million. The value of that industry. So that's your Chicken Republics and the rest. Imagine if we can take a big chunk of that and have a more healthy, nutritious food restaurant company that make it really accessible for people. I do really believe in the local produce that we have, our local crops. Increasingly, you see people talking about tiger nuts. You see, you know, even if it's bitter coat, whatever. How can we use our biodiversity? How can we use our local crops? I think there's an opportunity there, making it into powders, into juices, into pastes, in many forms. So that's the link with agriculture. And finally, I talk about that problem. We identified that there was a health malnutrition issue, but then we realized that these processed foods people were eating were imported foods, imported local agriculture as opposed to our local agriculture. We're spending $1 trillion annually at the time importing food, whereas we could completely flip that and help our local farmers while we're like Dr. Shoramimo, Ms. Shoramimo, and buy that organic produce and use it to add value to it and then present it in the form of products and services. So those are just a broad-based opportunity. It remains massive. I've given you the numbers. I've given you some ideas. And the fact that 6 years down the line, we are still a booming business. So that shows you that there is something there. So that's one. You asked me to quickly speak about challenges as well. It remains the challenges remain the same for any other business, not necessarily. But I think the big ones are some of the things that have been mentioned: more awareness and media, and the issue of us truly accepting there is a problem, and the fact that better nutrition can completely eliminate the issues of poor health. So if we accept that and embrace it. We need a lot more awareness there. We continue to have issues with, I wish, Dr. Shoramino, I wish you could scale up in a big way so that we know that there's so much more in terms of the feedstock of locally grown foods. I think we need more of that, better infrastructure. I think the biggest thing is that when you don't have power, you have a situation where your fruits and vegetables, which are fresh, they all go spoiled because there's no light. So if we don't fix some of those basic things in Nigeria, it's going to be very difficult to scale up what we do. But of course, the flip side is being able to dry these products. We have a lot of dried fruit snacks today. So instead of picking up that potato chip, why not pick up dried mangoes or dried pineapples and move things forward? So that really is the opportunity and I believe some of the big challenges that we face.
Thank you so much, Adawa Sakwe. Thank you for those perspectives on opportunities and challenges. Indeed, for me, very informative, and I'm sure the audience will also find it valuable and of use. We're going into a bit more technical things. We're going into things around the market, understanding the markets now. So we will be talking about the consumption, the market pattern for organic produce, and so on and so forth. My next question will go to Dr. Monye. Dr. Monye, I want you to extend your presentation a little bit and to help us to identify, to educate us on how we can identify customers, off-takers, target markets for this nutrition and lifestyle business. Over to you, Dr. Monye.
Thank you very much. While I'm going to answer that question, and if I forget it at the end of the time, at the end of speaking to, there are a few things that my sister and Mr. Umo spoke that I was jumping out of my seat when I heard them.
Excellent.
So I want to acknowledge the beautiful things that you're doing, both of you. This is something that gladdens my heart because it's all well and good for me as a family lifestyle medicine physician to say to my patients and the communities that I serve, oh, you need to eat properly, you need to eat more plants, you need to eat. And if it's not there, and I remember at the beginning of my journey over 20 years ago when I began this campaign in Abuja, my patients will say, but Dr. Monye, where can we find this organic food? It's not available,
Yeah.
So to hear that Mr. Wimo is doing this, that's amazing. But I just said something. She said that she wishes that you could scale. But she very quickly identified the fact that we don't have the infrastructure to support that. For example, electricity, and that food will spoil and so on. And we know that organic foods don't last beyond 2 or 3 days. And we don't have this kind of preservation, not chemical preservation, but put it in a fridge and so on, then it's no good. I want to say that I have been thinking about this problem over the years, and just recently began a movement among the community, among women first. I'm sure the men will catch up when they see their wives really doing exciting things, but there's something I'm probably going to talk to Mr. Sherman after this and Ada as well. And it's called Go Green, Grow Your Own Garden. Because even for the amount that and your people around you are making, not everybody can afford this.
Right.
But if everyone grows their own garden in their pots, in their backyards, in their front gardens, then that would be amazing. And we will need people like Mr. Omo to speak to the women. They're forming into groups and cooperatives now all over the country, and we will call you to come and address and teach us 1 or 2 things. So that's amazing. So Go Green, and a lot of them are on this program. I've asked them to come and listen because they will learn from this. Mrs. Shoma, you also said something that there is nothing we are doing that is enough. Those were your words. And so awareness media is so critical at this stage. And that's, again, I'm beginning now to talk about the avenues and the things that are available for people to do. Social media is global, so that's your market out there, So I'm not going to talk about reaching people. People do a lot of social media courses to tell you how to target your audience, how to get them, and how to reach them. But the social media is the very first point of call for whatever anybody decides to do. Go there, identify, do the training that you need to do, identify how you can get your audience and go after them. And you said, how can we identify our audience? It starts by you identifying and getting clarity about which part of the value chain you want to plug in. So are you going to provide personal services? So are you going to be a nutrition coach, a fitness trainer, a yoga instructor, or whatever it is? That will again tell you where your audience is. Are you going to be selling products like Mrs. Shoromo's product or my sister Ada's products? And Ada, the reason I call you my sister is because we are from the same local government area, in case you don't know. Okay, so we're going to take this back to our local government area, aren't we? We shall. Charity begins at home. Okay, so whether you're going to be selling products, you need to identify where your audience is and go after them. But let me just say, from the point of view of somebody who wants to see all the patients, their family, and the community healthy or healthier, eating organic food, growing their gardens at home, getting healthy restaurants, cooking healthy. There is a big surge of cooking on the social media now. But I watch with trepidation when I see how these foods are made. Trepidation. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay, we're going to flip it at some stage. I'm friends to all of them right now. But at a point, I'm going to come and say, hi, guys, let's flip this a little bit. Anyway, so we're going to keep going. Whichever part of any of this value chain that you want to plug in, you will find your audience. So while we advocate eat more grain, let it be organic, we want people who, I think that there's a good target audience there is people who already have diabetes, type 2, or already have hypertension, already are obese or overweight, or they have family members that have it. So you can actually do a survey. You can do what do you call this? A survey monkey, and find out from the population that you want to serve how prevalent some of these things are. So you can target your services to them. But there are people who already have the conditions, and there are people who don't have the conditions now, but they have family history of the condition, or they have risk factors for the condition. So you then need to go after those people. I hope this kind of answers your question. Is there any bit of it I'm missing?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Moya.
Okay,
I'm going to chime in myself. Yes, yes, but I also wanted to talk to the off-takers. So as you know, most of the participants are potential entrepreneurs who want to go into the business of, lifestyle and this kind of, business that we're talking about. So therefore, I want you to talk to, how do I identify my off-takers? Is there a community that exists already? The likes of Ada, yourself, Mrs. Showemimo, how do I see more of you? What do I do to even break my value chain into the areas that I want to focus on primarily, and so on and so forth? Over.
Thank you so much for that. Now, this is a huge gap that I'm going to advocate, because I'm advocating constantly to everyone I meet, and that is to you guys. I'm not aware, and if there is, let somebody tell me. I'm not aware that this is yet an organized sector. It's a new thing that we're discussing. It's an exciting thing. We're discussing nutrition and health, and how it relates to agriculture and business and all of that. So I think we are the ones who are going a list of off-takers. And the beautiful women before me here. Oh, hang on, how come we're only women here?
Well, I have to organize it, so that's a bit strange. But
beautiful women here, you're going to be.
It's a beautiful thing.
We're going to pioneer this, and because I'm sure people are desperate to know where to go for help, whether they are off-takers or they're the audience. So please, I throw that challenge back at you for organizing this beautiful conversation. Take it a step further, and I'm sure we'll be happy to come together and create that profile of where to find people.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Moya. I like that openness to know that we, all of us here, including the participants, are the potential, drivers of this market, without which it's potentially they aren't off-takers. We need to decide, we need to be knowledgeable, we need to desire to be in this space, to be able to grow the space and move it in the direction that you are pioneering. Thank you so much for that. We're going into another aspect of the conversation, and that is around starting a nutrition and lifestyle agribusiness. We want to know what skills and competencies are required to thrive in this sector. I want Mrs. Shoremimo to please take that. What kind of skills do I require to thrive, not just start, but to thrive in this sector? Over to you, ma'am. It seems you're on mute. Can you unmute? We didn't hear you at all. You need to unmute, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for that. I have to go back a little to what Dr. Moye mentioned. There actually is an organized group in Nigeria. Well, I belong to one of the organized groups, and this is the Association of Organic Agriculture Practitioners of Nigeria, known as NOAN. Now, NOAN started as an NGO, is still an NGO. So of course, there are usually limitations along that line. But we now have chapters in quite a number of places in Nigeria, and the Lagos one only started about 2 years ago. But last year, because of COVID, it didn't have enough space and room to really grow. So we actually now have farmers coming together, but not only farmers, producers, retailers, and all of that. So there is an organized group, and I'll be surprised if there are not one or two others that I may not know of, but I'm quite sure of NOAN. I met NOAN in 2015, and since then I have been with NOAN. I've been able to learn quite a lot, going for conferences outside Nigeria, just to deepen my knowledge in organic agricultural practices. He also mentioned the Go Green. From 2014 till date, I've trained over 800 women how to grow at home. As I speak, I am training another group of about 40 presently. And what I do is when we finish the training, we hold their hands for like the next 3 months so that they can stand on their own. And some of these women are willing to actually start producing for people like us. So that is a massive opportunity for those who want to do it, because you'll be amazed that even at the back of people's homes, they are recognized if they can grow following the standards. So that is a little answer to the issue that you raised. Talking about social media, I actually went on social media when I discovered organic agriculture. I was like, oh, wow, this is real. So I went online, primarily to Instagram, and I just went there talking to people about what I found. And today, I think there are over 18,000 followers who are avidly reading and wanting to learn and grow. And some of them said I have influenced them to actually start their own farms or to start their nutrition and wellness businesses. So there is more room. More people should please think of joining us. Now, talking about the things you need to be in this space, I would always like to talk from my own core area, which is agriculture. I am in processing now, but I'm processing to Adao Sakwe. Now, one thing is this: you need resilience. You just have to be sure that you can take all the bashing that is going to come your way. Everybody says all businesses are the same. Agriculture is deadlier. Because just as when you get it right, you are going to really be moving on. If you do get it wrong, then you're in serious trouble. So I always ask people, knowledge is key. And I liked it when Dr. Moye mentioned, get qualified. Get to know what you want to get yourself into. People would never know the places I have been to learn. There were places I went to learn that I didn't even tell my husband how insecure those places were even as far back as then. So that niche, that wanting to know, you have to go into organic, you have to unlearn what you knew before. Because now we are raising chickens without the use of antibiotics and synthetic drugs. I mean, that is amazing. Even at conferences, they look at Nigerians like, oh, wow, what are you guys doing? Because most people have not reached that level. So there are those key areas and those things. But resilience is important. Patience, 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 patience. There is hardly anything you put in the soil today that is going to be ready tomorrow. I think the fastest thing you can grow is probably a way to. Otherwise, I mean, there's so many nutritious and healthy vegetables that you can do, but they will take some time. And of course, you need to know your market. You can't just follow the bandwagon and say, if Nuli Juice has so many branches all over Lagos, it means I can do it. Yes, it means you can do it. But you've got to really sit down to learn and understand why, how, what, when, because it's not a bandwagon thing. And honestly, one has to be true to oneself. You can't, for instance, do parallel organic on one side. I hear people say things like, oh, I'm organic. I do this in organic on one side and I do this conventional on one side. The standards doesn't permit that, because whatever you're doing on that side is going to flow onto the other side. So one needs to really be focused. It's not a bandwagon thing. It's not a trend thing. Because when I started, I didn't even know organic was going to get to this level where everybody is talking organic. So those things are very important. I always tell people, you can intern. You can actually go to a farm and intern there, just so that you learn their practices and you know more. And then, of course, you need to identify the market that you want to play in. My farm is in Ogun State. My market is not there. My market is in Lagos. So you need to identify where your market is. And then you need to identify the social status of the people you're dealing with. I would not be able to sell my produce around my farm community. But the difference we're trying to make in those communities is making them appreciate the fact that the use of chemicals is harmful. So now I work with institutions like UNAB, BoA team, and some of these organizations who come to help me to encourage our farmers that what they're, many people think the things that come from the villages are healthy. It's not, because they can't even read or write. So sometimes you pick 3 different chemicals and all the active ingredients in all 3 are the same, but they don't know because they have different names. They just apply all of it. So knowledge, deep knowledge, in fact, when I say knowledge, I always tell people it's continuous. There is not one single day that I do not go learn something about what I'm doing. So there's that patience, resilience, knowledge, and then funding. Where are you going to get the money from? If you feel that getting the money might be difficult just at once, you can retail, offtake from others and sell, so that people know that you have that niche, and then you can do backward integration and then start on something. But those are just the key areas in terms of production that one can key into. I'll leave the processing to others about.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Showemo. Thank you for that insights. Competent, I mean, quite elaborate way you give us those perspectives. What I can derive from it the most is the aspect of native intelligence that is required. Not necessarily be a product of an area of studies academically, but the interest, the doggedness, the wherewithal that you put there, the perseverance, the patience, is actually what turns you into the successful entrepreneur in the nutrition and lifestyle agribusiness we talk about. Excellent remarks. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to ask in this session, the last question there. I'm going to ask Asaku this question. We're talking about the regulatory landscape. What do we need to be aware of as far as this regulatory landscape is concerned? Again, it's important for us to know what we should be mindful of, what exists, what does not exist, what is yet, what in terms of benchmarking against perhaps other.
So I can't hear you, but if you can hear me, I think your question was on regulation. I think I'll start saying that we have a long way to go with regards to regulating lifestyle businesses, nutrition businesses in Nigeria. The only thing that we do right now in the food products and service space is using NAFDAC, which is the Agency for Food and Drug Regulation. Back in 2014, we were the first juice company, natural juice company to get our NAFDAC certification. It took a while. A lot of samples had to be sent. They couldn't understand why they could see microorganisms inside. This is real fruit. There's no artificial, nothing in it. No additives, no preservatives, nothing. So it took a while, but we eventually did it and set the stage. However, I hear some of the issues that go on of people misrepresenting, saying something is organic when it's not organic, saying something is a certain product and maybe saying it doesn't have gluten or whatever, and it does have gluten, and somebody who is allergic may then react to that. I'm very particular about this, and unlike in other more developed countries, we don't have that sort of regulation. So I believe that an association and then can drive that, and then leading to the government level. But I do think a lot more can be done in regulating our industry in that way. I'm not okay. Please go on. If there's another question, but I wanted to address something else I saw.
Right. So this is fine as far as regulation is concerned. The regulatory landscape is not mature. Yes, we understand that. We do know the NAFDACs and perhaps the SONs that we have in place. But in terms of we could do more, in terms of identifying what the contents are in some of these products. So sometimes some of them might be false, gluten-free, and so on and so forth. So we hear that. Thank you so much, exactly for that perspective. We're going into another, and the last one. We're talking right now about investing in a nutrition and lifestyle agribusiness. And my first question will go to Dr. Monye. Dr. Monye, we want you to use your veterinary experience in this regard. How do I discover investable nutrition and lifestyle businesses? Either I want to partner, or I want to, mimic, or I want to go into, or I want to study. Where do I go to discover this class of businesses? Over to you, Dr. Monye. Dr. Monye, you're on mute. You need to unmute yourself, ma'am.
Okay, I'm unmuted now, am I? Good.
Yes, you are.
Your question, where do we discover investors? You're on mute now yourself, Maurice.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me? Because I'm not.
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so the question is, how do we discover this kind of businesses? Where do we go to? The ones that we can invest in, as far as this topic is concerned. Investable nutrition and lifestyle businesses. Over.
Where do we find the businesses to invest in? Or where do we...
Yes, to invest in investable businesses.
Oh, yes. Where do we find them?
Businesses to invest in, businesses to partner with, businesses to study, and and so on and so forth.
Where do we find them?
Yes.
Okay. Are you sure I'm the best person to ask this question, or those lovely women?
Well, I can take that because I can take that.
Oh, Ada, thank you.
I'm not an investor. I invest in businesses. I started Relay to do just that, to find investable agri-businesses that are tackling just this problem, as well as the food shortage problem and food insecurity. I can say that
Right.
in many ways, there's a lot of background noise. I can say that it's very interesting, but apart from, of course, being in the industry so people know and you ask a lot of questions and try to go to the right conferences and especially things like these and make those connections. But it's funny, I actually do find a lot of businesses on social media. I think Dr. Moye mentioned social media being very important. Sometimes just scrolling through and searching healthy or snacks or whatever, gym, whatever, and you find these things and it's interesting that you can reach out to them. I can say that the market is not as big. There's a long way to go in finding the investable businesses, and many times it's due to that lack of financing, the early stage financing to help them grow, to help them determine the right models to take. But we do need a lot more nutrition lifestyle businesses coming out of Nigeria.
Right. Thank you so much, Adele Sakwe. Mrs. Showamimo, would you like to compliment for that piece? I think it's an important area, especially for the participants in the audience. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Well, one of the key areas that I find is for production, there is so much room for value addition. There is hardly anything that I grow on my farm that you cannot add value to. There was a time we were supplying a company all the way in Abuja. They were taking our kale to dry and add to granola. I think soft skills, I've forgotten her name now. She was drying kale. I mean, for me, that was a first. I didn't even know that was possible. But she insisted that it had to be from a certified organic farm for her to make that claim, Recently, we harvested, I think it was aubergine, and somebody said, oh, wow, there's a lady who is drying this and making it into solid food by adding phylum husk and things like that. Mm-hmm. So, it's like, you feel like, that's the way I feel sometimes when I hear the things people say about some of the products that I bring. For instance, we dry many of our vegetables because some people want to travel and they say, no, I don't want to go and buy any crap anywhere else. I want the one from here. So please, I'd rather buy the dried one. Recently, we discovered that the fufu, that's the cassava flour, I don't know, the fufu, I don't know how else to describe it. We suddenly discovered that it was gaining so much importance among the things we do. Right now, we're starting some acreage of cassava. And so it means that there will come a time when we would have certified organic fufu in the market. So people just need to wear their thinking cap. Where is the need? Look at the hospitals, for instance. I was speaking with a medical doctor recently in a cancer hospital. I said, if you're still going to the general market to feed your patients, I don't know what you're doing. So all those areas are there. Somebody can just be like a gap between my own production and hospitals in Nigeria or wellness centers and things like that. The opportunities are so endless. People just need to wear their thinking cap. Where can I play in? What can I produce? Let's look at even the food we eat. Let's say gari is one of the most popular things in Nigeria. How many people are farming it organically? So you can imagine a cluster of people coming together and saying, okay, we are going to produce gari that is grown organically. There was a lady, she had cancer, and her naturopath insisted that she should come to us. And when he said, oh, now she can start eating solid food, I didn't have plantain to dry into plantain flour. There was only just one other person I could approach. So we only need people to come to people like, I will gladly produce on contract. Well, if I find workers, because we do have our own challenges too. Now with commercial motorcyclists and things like that, it's difficult to find farm workers, but there are still ways about these things. People need to come together, get people like us to produce for them. You don't have to do the production yourself. You can engage people like us. I have a team of other organic farmers. We can come together to say, let's produce this. So if we even start from all our staple diet, because I always tell Nigerians, it doesn't have to be an away thing. I mean, let's just even look at what people eat the most. And then we start from there. We would make a massive difference in the nutrition, because right now people are eating foodless food. There's nothing in the food most people are eating. When I first started, one of the things I did was to buy a refractometer. The refractometer, the purpose of my refractometer is to measure the bricks, the nutrient value of what I'm producing. Because when I did that over a period of time, that I felt confident in myself. And then people need to be truthful. Do you know that we have a store in Adebola shopping mall? People go there, they will just do their shopping, and guess what? They take it straight to the laboratory to go and test. I mean, when Ada Osakwe mentioned that thing about people lying about their thing, you need to just be authentic. Come together. Let's produce this. We would come together and produce it for you once it's a win-win. Because another problem we have as producers is that those who come and meet us offer us peanuts. Sometimes they tell you prices that we have a database of over 300 customers that we supply in their homes. So it pays me to supply them rather than you come and say, oh, you want to offtake from me and then you pay me peanuts. How about all my effort, all the work that goes into production? So there's a lot that we can sit down together to, and I like what you're doing with this program, because you can then harness so much and then identify those who have these needs, and between all of us here, things can happen even after now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mrs. Chowamimo. Thank you for that insight, particularly around nudging us and clamoring for creativity. That I hear a lot of that. There's a lot that is yet unraveled. There's a lot that is yet undone. And the more we gloss over it, the likelihood that we will not discover it. What I hear you say is we can sit together, we can have these conversations, we can be ingenious about them, and we can discover what is inimical, what is important for our own locality, for our own graphics, for our own, Nigeria, so to speak, and so on and so forth. Thank you a lot for that insight. Lastly, I would like Dr. Monia to give us a closing remark around this panel discussion. You've heard, the other panelists speak from very important and deep areas, of their expertise. I'd like you to give us a closing remark just before we go into the questions and answers from the audience and the participants. Dr. Monia, over to you. Unmute, ma'am. Unmute, please.
I want to start by saying that the Business of Agriculture Masterclass is a pioneering event. I'm not aware that there is anything like this that has happened, but there might have been, but I'm just being private to it. So well done. Kudos to you. This is a conversation that is absolutely needed. Absolutely necessary. I mean, can you imagine? I just see today's session as a beginning of tackling. You've gathered a group of very passionate women, professional women who have been at what they are doing for many years. And it was very interesting to hear Mrs. Chowamimo say that you cannot imagine the places she's gone to learn some of the things she has learned. And when you said that, it just reminded me about my own journey since for the past 20 years. Only last week, my husband said, there's somewhere you said you went to in the US, somewhere around Michigan. What was it you went? Where is it? Because I didn't have the audacity to tell him I'm going again to go and learn something about lifestyle medicine, because when you're passionate like we are, I'm so excited to be sitting in the midst of all of you. And so what I just want to say is this: please let the fact that nutrition is the pillar to health. We now know that nutrition can prevent, treat, and many times reverse the cause of chronic illnesses. And these chronic illnesses, I've already rated some of them: diabetes type 2, hypertension, stroke, dementia, cancers, and so on, arthritis, autoimmune disease, depression, and all of that. The list is endless. So why don't we actually harness all our interest, our passion, our expertise to start something that will be very, very useful for our nation, Nigeria, and the whole of Africa? Already, I know that Ada is doing a lot about that. And now I met Mrs. Shomimo. Awesome connection I've met this morning. I'm so excited. So let's carry on the conversation. And I'm sure we're going to do this for our country, our people, and our continent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maria. Thank you. And thanks again, Asako. Thank you, Mrs. Showamimo. Excellent remarks, excellent positions. I mean, you did justice to those topics. I'm sure the audience learned a lot. I learned, and I'm sure the participants also did. We're going into another session right now. The session is, the next 20-minute session is dedicated to answering selected questions that have been sent in by our audience on this topic. I don't know. We're still talking to very important aspects of our time, the business of nutrition and lifestyle management. I won't read some of the questions. Some of them have been collated, and I do know that Ifunanya Opala has a question already. Ifunanya, if you're here with us, could you turn on your video to hear your question? Over to you, Ifunanya.
Hello, good morning, or good afternoon rather. Thank you very much. I've really learned a lot from the whole discussion, and I'm really excited to be the first to be asking. So my question is this. I'm speaking from Anambra State, by the way, and I'm very interested in the nutrition and lifestyle business. And I have a business already that I started up, and it's called Diatanza. It's into the processing of foods for the overweight and obese. And my biggest challenge is finance, basically, to buy seasonal produce in bulk so I can break even and make a profit. And as someone that is already in this thriving space that doesn't have the capital, you have little to no capital for this, what would you advise someone that's facing this kind of challenge? And I noticed that most youths that are trying to enter into this niche usually have this financial problem because buying in bulk to produce is really a problem. And I know that people will really learn from your answers and the thoughts you share on something like this for people that are passionate about going into this kind of niche. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ifunanya. I would like for to start off or to address that question, and then Mrs. Showamimo to complement Ada. Over to you, Ada.
Ifunanya, your question, thank you for your question. Thank you for being part of today's conversation. I think your question is one that really is on the minds of so many people. It's one of the reasons why I decided to start a business. I was working with the Minister of Agriculture as a senior investment advisor. We launched the youth program for agriculture, youth entrepreneurship and agriculture program, YEAP. At that time, we gave 50 businesses a grant of 5 million naira. Some got 10 million naira because we were just frustrated. Banks were not giving funding. And then I decided to start AgroLay Ventures to support agri-businesses and people like you to give small amounts of money, early stage type of money, anything 5 million naira type, 10 million naira type money, because we understand the working capital challenges that you mentioned. You need to buy your produce to be able to process it. It's seasonal, you need to lock it in. So I believe we're still one of the only ones around there that is able to provide that kind of funding. The banks are quite difficult, so I always tell people don't bother, especially when you're this early. There is some money at the CBN level. I was able to get for about 20 businesses at some point. And I do hope I continue to speak to them at the CBN to continue to release funding for early stage young agripreneurs like yourself. So we can take it offline. I can speak with you and make sure that you're connected in any way possible. But to the extent possible, as long as you have a viable business idea, friends and family are a good way to go. You know, pitch your case, pitch your idea, tell them what you're doing, show them the opportunity, and see if they would, you know, many of them. That's what I did. You know, I was able to pitch my ideas to friends and family to be able to raise capital to get going until the business is sustainable enough. So it continues to be one of the biggest pain points. I can't say we have all the answers, but we are working actively to find solutions to financing businesses in this sector.
Thank you so much, Ada. Just before Mrs. Showman, I would like to also say something. To every, like every other business, especially this particular one, that's again, we've heard some of the panelists talk about huge potentials. Good for us that these potentials are, you know, they're dear to us, and they're also really quite native in the sense of it. I think it's important, just like Ada said, that we recognize the place of putting together a winning value proposition to attract any kind of funding, a winning value proposition. Perhaps what we need, because I do know that financing and funding, just like, you know, any other startup, will require that kind of support. What require is the nature of support from experts like those that are in this panel to put together those answers to help you deliver your right pitch in your value proposition. You know, additional to what Ada has said, and I'm sure Dr. Showemimo will complement some of that as well. Over to you, Dr. Showemimo. Mrs. Showemimo, pardon me.
I love the doctor. Just leave it there. So thank you for being here. And you are playing in the field of processing, more or less. So one of the things that could help is if you also find, in addition to what Ms. Osakwe has listed, if you find people in that niche who can take you on, so to say. So for instance, if you have, I mean, this is just for example, you want to take products worth 100,000, you have raised 50. If they would allow you such that you go sell the 50, you come back, as you sell, you try, I mean, you just have to find creative ways. I hate it when people give up on their ideas because of funding. So there has to be a way out. One of the things we have actually been able to do for our interns, for instance, we open our doors to anybody who has interned with us. We open our doors to them to come back and use part of our land to grow. Of course, they know that we're organic, so it's got to be strictly organic and nothing else. Now, as they grow, we take what they're growing, and they can always sell the rest to others to make that little extra money for themselves. So you need to think of something a bit creative. And another thing, whatever you're doing, if there's an association, please join that association. It's very, very important. I mean, for instance, despite the fact that we do not raise our birds with synthetics and all, I belong to the Poultry Association of Nigeria. You get ideas, you will network, you will meet it's like being here today. Already, Mr. Sakwe is already saying, oh, get in touch with me, you'll see what we'll see what you can do. So you are on the right footing. Just try to join any association that has anything to do with what you're doing. You would network, meet the right people. Sometimes what you even first need is probably not money. Sometimes it's just a very good, smart idea of how you can achieve on what you have in mind. So that's just what I would like to chip in for you.
Thank you very much.
Right, thank you so much, Mr. Showemimo, for that additional, very important perspective to address Ifunaya's question. Ifunaya, I do hope that you're satisfied with the perspectives that the panelists gave to your question. I have another question from Quincy Onwuka. And a question is directly to Ada Osakwe. How did you overcome the challenge of product shelf life. I like that. I was thinking of it myself. Of your products when they had no preservatives, or they still have no preservatives. Over to you, Madam Odasa.
No, it's a great question, and it's a story of lots of wastage and loss, and pain as an early business in the early days. But from the start, we knew what the situation was. We were very committed to staying natural. If you look, we looked at other countries that even though they were using natural, they were finding ways to process it with what they call cold pressure pasteurization. So it's still not adding anything, but it's extending the shelf life. So for a long time, I was looking at the machinery for that was about $1 million. I was like, am I going to raise funding for this? And then I later thought to myself, my gosh, even if I go get this machine that maintains the attributes of my product but extends the shelf life so that it can sit on the shelves in ShopRite and Spar, even if I do that, if it is on a truck, and that truck breaks down, it can spoil. So it was taking care of shelf life, but it wasn't taking care of the fact that we don't have a cold storage, an active cold storage system in Nigeria. We don't have trucks or just warehouses, refrigerated warehouses to store. So those were some of the challenges. We became very good at inventory management. So we would, anywhere we put our fridges and anywhere we place our things, we would say, let us build up the inventory. We wouldn't stock the fridge with 200 juices at a time. We would do it every other day. We'll make our deliveries so that we make sure that we are selling what is it's still valid within the shelf life. And that became what we just decided to own. At some point I was thinking, should I go into Tetra Pak? Is this paying too much that I want to stick to a highly nutritious plant-based product? But we stuck with it. And by the time you create the demand, by the time there was a lot more awareness, in the beginning, people would look at the green lettuce and spinach juice and they'll say, what is this? I can't drink this. But with time, they saw what it was doing for them, what it was doing for their skin, what it was doing for reducing their sugar levels, and they were like, they want this. So when you build the demand as well, it became a lot easier to manage that inventory than we just push things out. We became the first juice product, natural. We became the first natural juice product to be sold at ShopRite and Spar, and we continue to be sold there. And we're very excited about that. So that's really how we manage it. We stay true to it. You become good with your inventory and just make sure that selling things off before they expire.
Thank you, Ada. Thank you for that. Master your inventory and master the market. That's really quite insightful. My next question is from Kelechi Raymond. He says he's a mushroom farmer currently working on scaling to meet local needs. What is viable strategy going forward to scale the business? Mrs. Shorima, do you want to help us with that?
Yes. Kelechi Raymond, it's, I suppose every business starts at a level, and the prayer or volition is always to scale up and do more. But one of the things I would like to find out, before you start thinking of scaling up, do you have the market? Because it's one thing to scale up, is another thing to start looking for buyers. So you need to be very sure, because even if you were to get a loan facility to scale up, would you be able to make the repayment? Because you've bottled up yourself into something that you might not be able to get out of. And then, are there other things you can do to the mushroom that you currently produce to see if you are able to increase your market? I know quite a number of mushroom producers are now beginning to dry them. At the GT Fair of about, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, the Mushroom Association came together, and some of the things they offered us were incredible. I wouldn't have thought that, mushroom could be used for some of the things that we had. They had ofada stew mushroom. They had egg sauce. There were so many things. So I would say that you should tread carefully, be sure that you have the right market, you have that need is there, so that by the time you scale up, then you are onto something. And of course, value addition You may consider maybe even now parties are getting very creative. There's hardly any kind of food you can't eat at parties now. Some of the things are now being made into other things. You could think of that before you rush into scaling up, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Shorobimo. Just before our last question, we want to remind you to use the hashtag business culture when commenting on social media. This is very important. I'm sure some of us are already using it. The last question is from Rachi Nwanchuku, and she's asked, I need more light on the area of certification, still on the regulatory issues. What other organizations can certify an individual aside hospital internships in the Department of Nutrition and Dietetics? Between Dr. Monye and Ada, Dr. Monye, would you help us addressing this question, and then maybe Ada can support with our own experience. Over.
Thank you so much, Rachi. This is a very important question. Thank you for asking. Very, very good question, because it borders on credentialing and qualification for what it is you want to do. And your question is that are there other organizations that can certify an individual apart from hospital internships in the Department of Nutrition and Dietetics? Now, my question will be straight. What certification are you asking about? Because in the field of nutrition and lifestyle management, there's a whole range of jobs that people can do, and there's a whole range of certification. So do you mean certification in nutrition, certification in dietetics, certification in health coaching, certification in being a fitness instructor, certification in lifestyle medicine? But you have that one, you have to have your first degree has to be in either medicine or a health and allied professional to medicine. So I need to know what certification that this person is asking for.
Dr. Moya, what I've heard her say is besides hospital internship, are we thinking that it's all medical doctors go for this internship? The nurses, for instance, or other health workers, do they have access to this hospital internship? Or would it only require the degree of medicine to expand further in this area of nutrition and dietetics? Over.
Oh, if it's nutrition and dietetics, then it has to be nutrition and dietetics. But I know also that there are courses that people who have health backgrounds can go and do. Now, in Nigeria, what courses we have available, it's extremely limited, and I don't have a list of them, but we can provide that information to the person, to Rachi, if she leaves her email with you guys, then we can figure that out. But what I know from the top of my head, that there's certification in lifestyle medicine if you are a medical doctor, or you have a master's or PhD in any of the health-related fields, including nutrition and dietetics, physiotherapy, and all of that, and nursing, pharmacy, and so on.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Mani. Adele Sakwe, would you want to give us any?
Nothing to add on that. Dr. Mani covered it.
Great. I think she did as well. Thank you so much. My last question, unfortunately, I won't be able to take any other question apart from what Abubakar Tijani Yusuf was just asking. This is about finalists. When can we have an organic food expo? And on behalf of the organizers, I say as soon as the organizers are able to bring us again together, maybe even more expanded and more coverage. I do look forward to it as well, just like you do, Abubakar Tijani Yusuf. So I'm certain that will be soon. On behalf of the organizers of this event, I would like to greatly thank the panelists, Oda Sokwe, Dr. Dr. Ifeoma Monye, and Madame Showemimo, for the very, very detailed perspective that you provided to this topic, the business of nutrition and lifestyle management. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you. I feel educated. I mean, now I can boast for a boost of more information and more education in this area of study. So thank you once again, and thanks to the organizers for having all of us here. Once more, please Video recording for the session will be available on PSAG. PSAG is Private Sector Advisory Group of Nigeria, YouTube channel, Facebook, and website. Participants listening to us, please locate this recording of this session there. Thank you so much. It's 12 already. Time. It was
There's a story to be told, a future to behold. There is more to who we are than what they hear. We have love within our soul, fire in our bones. We've got everything it takes to make it here. There's much more within our soil, more than just our own.